Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kirusho here, and now, before we do get started, let me give a brief little review. In the last part, we had a number of events happening. We had Deku. We also had his new group. Izuku Midoriya is just one of the many people who have lost a lot of things in his life. He's committed great acts of evil, and after what he did at the dam, he could no longer keep telling himself one simple thing. He's no longer human. He can't be human anymore. He can't hesitate, can't show kindness to many people. The world has changed him into a monster. That was just metaphorically before. He's had to do bad things, but now that has manifested in a physical way. And Izuku, he had to let go of his family. The humans in his group stayed at UA for a few more days until Setsuna could be properly moved and he saw them go. He saw her leave with Hashi, and he was hoping that one day they might return. But if that does ever happen, it's not going to be for good reasons. He wishes it could be. She's terrified of him, and she's more terrified at the idea that their son could be infected. And Izuku, after letting them go, talked with some people who wanted to move onto UA grounds, since they heard he was different from the other type of infected outside the walls. Now, while Deku was trying to rebuild this family he's lost, there was also Lady Nagant, who was trying to keep another family safe. Nagant was in the bunker when she met with Endeavor. Her phone got a call and she talked to somebody who was trying to tell her a lot of important information. The committee's up to something, what they're doing is sketchy, people have gone missing. They want to murder Endeavor, and they're having a meeting at the current moment. She needs to go in there and make sure to see what's going on. She did. She found an air vent that led to their room on the upper level, and she heard the entire meeting where they discussed how she was a dog, she got too close to Endeavor, Fuyumi is a viable way to get Endeavor distracted, since the first meeting with Izuku Midoriya did not end with Endeavor's death like they thought it would. It's quite simple. They need to quell rebellion, and they have been doing so quietly, but they need to be a lot more active. And Nagant, after hearing how they want to do this, they want to murder Fuyumi and get her husband to leave the bunker, she did one thing any rational sociopath would do after they have a lapse in sanity. She walked downstairs through the elevator door and blasted the secretary. She then proceeded to blast every member of the committee she could, until her gun was empty and she had to reload. And then she just kept firing. She heard those alarms blare and just sat down, aware that she just took 4 lives and she is in a lot of trouble. Now then, with that being said, let's currently pick up with Izuku. Izuku has a lot of aggression he needs to work through, a lot of anger he needs to get out, and someone who could take it, he'd say is definitely Mirako. And we do have him, who he currently isn't flying through the air, him smashing onto and bouncing off of a car. Before he does, go to flip over and then stop in the air. Mirako going to rush forwards on all fours and throw up one of her giant arms, her lashing out with her claws at Deku. And Deku, he does go to move backwards through the air, before he's to fly forwards and throw his hands over his head. Currently, him going to smash his arms over his head and use Fajin. Watching as Mirako does a smash of the car and hit into the concrete. Before she's a bounce off it, and Deku, he has a drop, throwing his leg up and kicking her into the air. Watching Mirako get sent flying through the air before he has to do 2 things. Currently, him throwing out Black Whip as it a fly out towards her. four tendrils flying off of Deku's back and directly at Mirako. Her moving through the air as Deku does a grab two vehicles. Him going to throw them up at her for them to grab her, pulling her down and smashing her between the two cars. Deku watching Black Whip throw her back down and smashing onto the street, before he does go to tell Black Whip to calm down, draw it back. And it does get a respond. Currently, it just going to sit there on the outer layer of his skin, ready for Izuku to give it a command. However, it does not want to leave him defenseless. Him talking with this quirk. And currently Mirako, she does go to slice through the rubble and then come to stand up. Currently, her cracking her neck before Izuku, he does go to look at one of her arms, which do bend in the wrong direction. Her going to turn and look at her arm for throwing her leg out. Her going to smash it before watching it re-break. And then her pulling it back up, and it does go to look better. Deku is staring at that, before she just come rushing at him, and he does a rush at her, currently stepping forwards quickly, throwing his fist out and smashing it into Mirako's chest. Her going to look down as Deku, he's already there, bring his hand up and smashing her directly in the nose. Her flying backwards, for to throw her claws down, them smashing the rest of her body is a flip. The arms going to sever and then going to reconnect. As she does, gonna smash her feet down to the ground and rush at him. Deku bringing his hands up and ready. Her throwing one of them out for Deku as a bring his left arm up and go to block the punch. Her throwing the other one out as Deku, he does gonna take this. And Mirako does gonna step forwards. Deku's feet digging in the concrete and dragging backwards. Before she's gonna move in and then go to actually see Izuku. Her pushing him back for the two to smash into a bus. Currently bending and breaking into it before she has to throw her hand back and smash it at Deku. The arm going to do so very quickly before she does go to move backwards. Currently Deku watching as a limb does a split and break before it does go split off into two arms on one side. And this definitely does sort of surprise him. Watching as the claws, they do begin to split as well. And this does intrigue him. Deku telling her that right now they're not doing that. Throwing his hand out as Black Whip, it does go to follow his command. Him slashing into her arm. And Mirako, she's going to rush Deku before the slice is going to split off and only one arm is connected. Deku going to freeze her in place. And Mirako does begin to start rushing at Deku, trying to be aggressive. Her body not following her command to kill him and feast on him. Not following the command to just attack. And Izuku does get to tell her. He said they're having a fight. He needs her to fight fair. He is. He's holding back. And Mirako does scream for Deku to say that. Her angry. Her mad. And Deku does tell her. Stepping forwards. He already did plan to infect her. He's well aware. She already got a little bit in her already. They're just going to speed this up. Deku blasting her with his mist. And she does begin to cough before Deku does stare at her. And Mirako, she does go to fall forwards. Deku telling her, right now he has a lot on the agenda. And she is now a part of it. This isn't going to be a game. This is going to be a way to test her. Now, Deku holding up his arm and telling her to take a bite and heal properly. Mirako looking up. And right now Deku does go to release her. Right now her mouth chomping forwards onto Deku's arm. And Deku, he does tell her, drink quickly. He does want this to be fun. That's what she wants, right? Her sipping down blood greedily. And Deku, he has been to watch parts of her face begin to regenerate. Him having to pull the arm out as a chunk of flesh is still in her mouth. Her chewing and chewing and chewing. And Izuku, he does begin to watch these bits of zombie flesh begin to start breaking. Some begin to try and regenerate and accumulate to what Deku just did to her. However, Mirako does gotta look back up. Right now, her feeling well fed and better. Before that look in her eyes, it does begin to somewhat change. And Deku, he does gotta back up, bring his hands up and ready, before she does rush him at amazing speed. And Izuku, he does gotta rush forwards as well. And someone, they do gotta watch this match. Currently, them aware about what exactly is happening. This isn't just some sort of petty squabble. It's not some sort of petty brawl. It's a chance to get rid of that aggression on someone who can take it. And, well, another way, strategy to convince her. It doesn't matter. Oh, he wants a proper fight, so he's making it more fair by holding back and giving her an advantage. Good tactic. Respond to the meathead by acting like a meathead. There is a brain in there. Though they are concerned about a lot of other details Deku does have. A lot of other plans he might be, well, he might have in play. And currently, there is Deku, who does get sent flying through the air. Currently, him flying through the air and smashing onto the street. For he is a turn. Getting up as another creature, it does even rush Deku. Deku turning his head and staring at it, moving on all fours and at him. Deku going to bring Black Whip out with 2 fingers. It flying to get the creature and stabbing into its brain. Before he does go to throw his hand down in Black Whip, it does go to retract. Him looking back at Mirako, who is rushing him. Her with arms that do seem more like they're at the proper size for her body. And Izuku, he is going to rush her as well. The two going to meet as Deku does a clash. Her throwing her leg up and going to knee Deku in the gut. Him feeling the wind get knocked right out of him before she has to throw her leg up again. Her going to throw it up and smash Deku before he has to throw his arm down. Her kicking her leg up and smashing Deku across the face. Deku alarmed and spitting blood. Before she has to throw her left hand out and smash Deku across the face as well. Currently, her bringing other hand up and slicing at Deku's eyes. Him going to go blind. And this, it does go to alarm him. Him going to feel Mirako begin to throw her fist out and smash him across the face. And those metallic claws, they do pack quite a bit of a punch. Deku feeling them as he does to back up, bringing one of his hands up and going to let go of Mirako. However, her grip is firmly locked with her legs around him. Deku going to throw his hand out with Fujin and going to send a powerful strike that is a blast Mirako away. And some people, they do hear a boom. Currently, Mirako being sent flying into a building and smashed into the concrete wall. Before Deku, he is going to run forwards, following her new heartbeat. And this, it does give Deku quite a bit to work with. Mirako sitting there and feeling winded. However, right now her mind is surprised by something. She's breathing. And she has to look up. Going to move forwards before Deku does bring his hand up and grab her, smash her through the wall as the two go careening through the building, going through 3 more concrete walls for flying down a new street. And he does get a turn, throwing her towards the building before she has a turn. Currently, her throwing her body out and then going to smash her claws in the side of a building. Before she does, going to sit there for a second on the side and stare at him. And Deku does stand there. Him looking around. In Danger Sense, It is telling Izuku everything. He can see without his eyes. It's incredible. Nothing. It's weird. Where is she? To his right? No, no, she's not on his right. His left? No, not his left. His front? Maybe. Okay. Deku began to have the light begin to pour back in. It's still very blurry. Parts still missing. He can't see in front of him. But his sides, a little bit, it's beginning to focus. It's beginning to, a tendril flying out, currently wrapping around Deku's neck before he is to bring his hand up, grabbing the tendril and then going to pull it down, throwing his foot out and smashing down for bringing his right hand up, grabbing it and pulling it forwards, throwing his left hand out and watching as Mirko, where he does throw his palm out and use Fa Jin, she does get sent flying backwards, her collarbone breaking and Izuku ripping off this limb. Him going to watch the arm hit the ground where his vision is fully restored. And that does tell him quite a bit. Deku just looking down. Surprised? Okay, so that limb, it could do that. Her ability, it's quite similar to his. Deku looking around, and he doesn't see Mirko. He does see the blood trail, some of it at the very least. It's, okay. Didn't expect her to be a runner. Though it does make this a bit more fun. Deku going to feel Fa Jin begin to build a little bit more. He needs to be more careful with this one. This ability, the way it changed, it's more precise. Deadly? Definitely different. Though, Deku's stepping off, currently flying up multiple stories before he does a grab into the wall. Him turning and using his hand to dangle off the side of the building. Looking down. This is going to be interesting. Where did she go? Where'd she go? Deku going to move. Currently, him beginning to fly in between buildings quickly. And Mirko, she does go to stand there. Her turning and going to see a dead creature. Her walking over and going to grab the tail from the bulletproof creature. Her ripping it off and then going to shove it directly into this part in her arm that was torn. And it does begin to start following her orders whenever she does begin to feel the connection build. And this tail, it does begin to listen. It going to elongate and slash into the concrete wall. And Mirko does find this to be good. She finds it to be great. However, right now, she does have her own problem. Currently an arm directly going to puncture through the wall. The fist going to turn and grab Mirko for Deku to pull her back through and rip her through behind him. Deku turning as she does stand. Her going to throw her right arm and elongate the limb. It flying at Deku, who does have it punctured directly into his left arm. Him moving forwards as she does throw out her left arm. This tail going to slice out and directly at Deku, hitting him across the face and going to directly hit into his jaw. Before he has to throw his hand out and smash Mirko directly in the stomach. Before she does go to do one simple thing. She does go to throw out a kick. Currently, Deku bring his hands up as she has to give him a kick directly to the jaw. And Deku, he has to stumble back. Him rushing back forwards before he does a throw his left hand up and do one simple thing. He has to send a shove of air blasting Mirko back. Izuku just opening his hand and going to shove his hand forwards, using Fa Jin. And this massive gust of wind is to send her flying backwards. A car being sent airborne as people down the road, they do feel this sudden shift in the air. And it does kind of startle them. A car being sent flying down and smashing onto a truck, causing more sound. And Mirko, she does go to stand there. Right now, her feeling her body weak, her muscles are healing. She's feeling better than ever. Her body's full of adrenaline. She's getting better. Fight. This in her mind. And Deku, he doesn't stare at her. Right now, her right arm trying to be more human, trying to be more original. It is overriding that piece of zombie flesh. And Deku does a look at the left forearm she does have. Deku going to do one thing, telling her they can end this whenever she does say so. He's not going to stop. In fact, he's got a lot she can handle. And he's just getting warmed up. She's got one quirk. He's got 8. So come on. Hit him with her best shot. He'll stand here and take the entire attack. He doesn't care. Right now, he wants her to try. And Mirko does stare at him. Her enraged. Not happy that Deku isn't taking her seriously. Before, she's gonna flex her legs and immediately rush forwards on all fours. Her going to rush forwards at him and then gonna send out a kick. Right now, her jumping up and smash Deku across the face. Before Deku, he does a stand there. Her going to bring her right hand up and slash Deku across the chest. The slice cutting into his torso before she's a turn. Right now, her going to slash across Deku's neck with the Relentless's tail. And she has a turn. Right now, her going to smash her right leg out and then going to turn, smashing her right hand to the ground. For smash Nekudoki in the chest with her feet. Her going to move backwards and then move forwards. For her to spin her body and smash Deku down with a leg directly onto his shoulder. And Deku does stand there. Right now, her watching on. As Deku, he does begin to build more and more energy from her strikes. And this, it does go to give Deku a bit of a smile. He feels great. Her smash him across the face. And Deku, he has a stare at her. Mirko smashing her fist directly across his face. And her body, it's beginning to heal from a lot of that damage. Right now, Deku, seeing as her face looks like the proper hero he remembered. And she does go to have more of her arm begin to regenerate. This on Deku's mind. Wondering if he should point this out. Tell her. And Mirko does get to have part of that zombie arm fall. Her right hand smashing out into Deku's as she's a turn looking at her arm. Her a lot more surprised. And Deku, he does go to bring his hand out, grabbing her by the throat and then gonna squeeze. Right now Mirko gonna feel deprived of oxygen. Her mind unfamiliar with the sensation. And right now Deku is gonna force her down to her knees. Her going to bring up her left arm and go to see exactly that thing she was holding on to fell off. And Deku does get to tell her, looking at her left arm, about exactly what he's seeing. Isn't that quite something? I'll kill you. No, you won't. I told you, I've already infected you. Now, I gotta say, this was fun. Will you submit? Because if you don't, Deku bring his hand up, telling her he'll give all that energy right back to her. And she just stared at Deku. Her not sure if he will actually do it. And Izuku does tell her. Right now, he wants her to help him kill a tyrant. Someone who might just be as strong as him. And she just stared at Deku. Before he does tell her. He's talking about a guy who is evil. Who's been after him since this shit started. He is going to kill him. He's going to take back their home. And then he's going to make a lot of changes. If she doesn't want to help him, he's going to take her out right now. Fact is, he's giving her a deal. Things are going to be different, and if she doesn't want to listen, he'll move on. He's already aware that he might be able to find Best Jeanist out here, or maybe even Hawks. He's quite curious about that one. And Mirko, she does go to stare at Deku, her eyes going to somewhat soften, before Deku does let her go and she's just sucking her breath. Him telling her, right now, he does want an answer, beginning to hold out his hand, telling her, he's got to find others too. In fact, it's going to be quite a little bit of a intriguing little trip. Will she join him? Well, ain't that something real nice? Him turning, before Deku does get to see Dabi. And Dabi, he does come stepping out, his hair covered in flames, and the white skull visible, talking about it. Looks like he came at a little bit of a bad time. Though, it was quite the impressive little display. What is he doing? Just showing off at this point? You. Yes, me. So, what exactly can I do for you? You look a little different. I'm gonna fucking kill you. Are you now? I'll eat your fucking heart. See, now that we need more of. Dabi began to blast out flames, and Izuku does a turn, walking towards Dabi, telling him he's not going to make this easy on him. He's already learning a lot more about these abilities, and he thinks he does get it. Shigaraki is scared, isn't he? Really? You really want to come towards me? Mirko watching on, before Dabi does a light Deku up in flames, not raising a hand, and Izuku immediately is going to burst into blue flames, him moving forwards. Before Dabi does a stare on. Watching as Deku, he does go to make it 10 steps, falling to his knees and then throw his hands out, currently his body being overcome by that fire. Deku sitting there, trying to catch his breath, trying to breathe. But this fire has no oxygen, no room for it left to get through. And Dabi does begin to move forwards, currently him going to step down and gonna bend down and tell him, wasn't this funny? It seems like just a minute ago, Deku throwing his hand out, grabbing Dabi directly by the throat. And Dabi, he does get a freeze, looking down and seeing Deku's eyes, currently them showing nothing but a blank expression. And he does get a fully stand, Dabi throwing his hands out and gonna blast Deku on both sides of his head with the fire. Before Izuku, he does gonna turn, chucking Dabi through a building. Him flying through the air, and Deku does a watch, the building gonna collapse on top of him. Him flying through it. And currently Izuku, he has to stand there, before he has to move his arms and go to disperse this fire. A massive gust of wind coming off of him. And he does begin to regenerate, before he has a turn, looking at Mirko and telling her, how about they have a little bit of fun? Her first order of business, kill that fucking skulled bastard. And she smiles at him, her teeth still covered in blood. And Izuku, he does go to watch her bring her hands up and go to somewhat flex them. Right now, her a lot more intrigued by what she can do. Because her abilities, they do feel strengthened by whatever he just did to her. And Izuku, he does go to move forwards. Right now, Dabi flying out and creating a circle of fire around Izuku. Deku going to fly up into the air as Dabi does it to use his hands, blasting fire through his feet and flying in. Izuku flying up to greet him as Black Whip does a fly out of his back. It gonna cover Izuku and try to protect him from the flames. Izuku flying through the air and smashing Nadabi, who did try to ignite him when he got close. And this, it doesn't end too well. The two smashing down and gonna land inside of a bus. Currently, Izuku gonna turn and grab Dabi, and Dabi is gonna throw his hands out, going to blast directly in to the armor Black Whip has created. Currently, Izuku going to have the flames boil his eyes before he has to throw out his foot, kicking Dabi and sending him flying through the bus. Him melting through it as Deku does a sit up and turn, feeling a piece of metal go to slosh down and liquefy onto part of his shoulder. Him gonna turn and brush it off as he does a step out of the bus. Dabi flying back towards Deku as Deku he does go to bring his hands up. Getting ready. Activating One for All and gonna step, throwing his hand out. And Dabi, he saw Deku. Then Deku was gone. Deku currently right in front of Dabi as he bend down, throwing his hand up and uppercutting the creature. Right now him going to be sent flying through the air. Deku seeing him straight up, before he has to look up and go to bring his hands up. Getting with his Black Whip does a shoot off of Izuku. And Mirko does watch, as there are multiple tendrils, them flying up in the air and dispersing. It looks insane. It looks like there's dozens of them. Them flying off Deku's body, before they make their way into the air and go to find their target. Some of them piercing Doki into Dabi, while others, their arc was far too wide. And that massive display Mirko saw, it does alarm her. Her looking up as Deku hears a real Dabi in. Currently, him gonna turn and throw her at Mirko. Her turning and rushing forwards, for bring her leg up and gonna smash Dabi directly across the back, breaking it. Currently, Dabi going to fall as he does get sent careening into a wall. Him laying there for he should move. His hands responding. His legs not so much. Trying to fully stand. Trying to get onto his feet. Okay. Maybe this was a bad idea. Come on. Come on. Him being able to wiggle his toes. Before he does go to get up weakly, turning as he does use his abilities, feeling something in his back pop and going to hide the expression his face is going to make. Looking back up and seeing Deku, who does a step towards him, talking about it. Isn't that something? He's got to say, he does like what he's saying. Deku holding up his hand, and right now, he does tell Dabi. He could make him an offer, though he's been pretty firm about his place under the boot of a psychotic fuck. You've got more of a mouth on you this year, don't you? Yeah, I do. Things change. So what are you gonna do? Are you just gonna go crawl back on your hands and knees and beg your father for forgiveness? Or do I need to rip your head off and put you with my other example? Really? You think you can take me? I know I can. I'm just Deku using Fujin. And right now Dabi, he doesn't see Izuku. Him looking around alarmed. Before Mirko does smile at him. Him stepping forwards. Before Deku does a throw his hand onto Dabi's shoulder. Him turning Dabi and throwing his hand directly into his throat. Currently going to force Dabi down onto his knees. Telling him he's going to make this simple. Dabi throwing his left hand up and beginning to blast fire directly at Izuku. Blast at him with all he can, bring up both hands. And Izuku, his body does get engulfed by the flames. Currently the building behind him beginning to feel the effect. As the concrete, it does begin to turn into powder within seconds. And that, it does mean quite a bit. Izuku, hearing a sound behind him, before he's looked down at Dobby, bring his hand down to his head and beginning to crush the front of his skull. And Dobby does stare back up at him, seeing those eyes so full of rage, seeing those eyes so full of anger. And Deku, he does begin to feel the crunching in his hand. He does begin to feel the skull starting to give way and break. Before Izuku, he does go to do one thing. He does go to push. Dobby being sent flying into the ground and sliding across the floor. Him right now finding his way right in front of Mirako, who does go to throw her leg down and smash it next to his head. Him going to look up at the pro hero before he does sit there. Come on. Huh? Get up. I wasn't done with you yet. That feeling in your skull, that little pain you have, that is me. I want you to know. I'll find you. I'll make sure I will hunt you down and I will feast on your brain. I'm learning a lot about myself. And honestly, I think I'm starting to enjoy it. That's the spirit. You're just as bad as him. Deku gonna step forwards, for he has a tell gear shift. Exactly what he wants to do, pulling Dobby up in the air and beginning to twist his body. And this, it does begin to happen. Mirako watching Dobby be pulled up into the air before his limbs begin to force their way backwards. And this is where Deku, he does try to think. Curious about his ability. He can feel it. He feels it calling to him, but pulling against him as well. He thinks he might know what it is. All that time down in the damn pit. Perhaps he does understand it a bit more. Though he should give it a proper test. Bring his hand up to Dobby, and a portal does not open in front of Deku, watching a pink portal fly forwards and go to grab Dobby. Deku feeling the connection sever as Dobby does disappear, the portal fading as quickly as it manifested. And that does alarm Izuku. Before he has a turn, looking at Mirako, and she looks just as confused, though she doesn't have it dawn on her for a minute, turning and looking at Deku, talking about how she thinks she knows what just happened. Do you? I think so. It would be an explanation. I think that was a portal ability. It was my thought too. If it is, certainly interesting. Explains a lot. Yes, it is. The two both turning, and Izuku does see Sir Night-Eye. Currently him going to jump off the building. Him smashing down and going to stand, talking about it. He does have to say one more thing. He was trying to be a little bit more secretive. But it does appear that this route they're currently on will be putting him in a bit more risk. He caused quite the commotion for him. Does he know that? What do you mean? I saw a timeline disappear, Izuku. I saw it vanish. I do want to tell you what that does mean, especially for my sight. It's not good. I don't quite like seeing things disappear. Do you now? Yes. I've also seen your message. I anticipated we were heading that way. Into danger? Yes. Hello, Mirako. Night-Eye. You know him? You could say we've had a little bit of a history. That's in the past, Mirako. Your new friend here, you should thank him. I know I certainly plan to. For what? For bringing you back, of course. Isn't that what you wanted? That little piece of your mind that just kept screaming at you to. Deku going to tell Night Eye, shut the fuck up. Isn't he on a schedule? I am. I certainly am. So you do understand my concern with all this. I can see it, but I don't really care. I'm taking action. I did plan to rip his brain out. I don't know what it would taste like, but I'm a little curious. What happens if I do that? We need to have a bit of a chat. Currently, Night-Eye bringing his hand into his pocket, for he's pulsating out and step forwards, expressing. He'll begin to anticipate the timelines. He does want him to take more action. If he does get one of his epiphanies, then he would like him to leave a note. Same spot. He can sneak away every couple of days to check. They can do it this way. They keep in contact using the theory he's gonna tell him about, because he's fairly certain of it, in a lot of timelines. Or are they going to be playing hooky? We can play hooky. I see. You do understand, not in person. We can't be seen together. I'm aware. Go. I've got to get back home. I do think you'll want something else first. What do you mean? There's a lot of infected inside the city, Izuku. I'm surprised you haven't met the new ones. Though if that is the case, then I anticipate there could be a drag in that direction. Him turning and pointing, talking about it. It would be quite beneficial for him to have that in multiple timelines. Go get it. Once that's done, fly back to UA on his beast. Before his turn, before quickly running down the road, and Deku, he has a turn and begin to start walking that direction. Mirako highly confused, because it sounds like they have an inside man. And that, it does mean quite a lot. And we do have back over at UA. The civilians, they were still getting a lot of things unpacked. People were beginning to make preparations. They've got food rations, and they already do have the idea to go out hunting. Try and find or hit a place, or even maybe talk to their boss. I mean, if it is in close to the city, then they can point something out. He helps them out on some runs, potentially, and he can recruit more zombies. I mean, they can even point out some variants they've seen, along with some of the infected they might encounter. I mean, hey, if you're gonna have a traveling buddy, why not have it be one of the strongest guys in the apocalypse? I mean, would definitely save them a few bullets. Hopefully. All the bullets. However, there is a sound. Currently us having Toga and the rest of the hybrids, who they do come running out of the building. Currently, Deku flying down as the dragon, it does come to land. And people, they do begin to see this creature. Massive arm-like wings. And its head, it does have a horn on the front of it, along with a massive row of jagged teeth. And the eyes, they do glow bright orange. And Deku does a turn, right now telling the massive creature that it can rest. He'll call for it when it needs. He'll call for it when he needs. Currently, Mirako going to slide off the creature's back, and Izuku, he is going to do so as well. The creature turning to him, for Deku does tell it. Rest and feed. Him gonna turn. The creature began to walk away on its massive limbs. And it currently doesn't have its tail somewhat sway. And Deku, he does go to watch on. People staring at him. As Deku does get to bring his hand up and inform them all. He brought a new friend. Also, he met someone out there. Someone they've all seen before. What happened? I saw someone from back at the manor. Was it a Night Stalker? No. You know, one of those giant creatures? And that guy with the blue skull? You saw him? Oh, yeah. Not as powerful as I thought. Though it does seem like he's certainly powerful. Might have a few things in common with him. But I'm still learning. Are you gonna be alright, Izuku? I'm fine. Listen, this is Miriko. Like I said already. She's gonna need some food. Take her to the cafeteria. Then you need a shower and you need a rest. But no buts. You're gonna be sparring off against a few people tomorrow. Afterwards, we're gonna go hunting and try to find more. When we have what we need, then, and only then, will we try and have an actual fight against them. In the meantime, you're going to be helping us. You're going to spar against everybody here. And you're going to see exactly how much more powerful we've all been made. Do you understand? Her giving Deku a mischievous smile. And that grin, it is accompanied by a pair of fangs he doesn't see in her mouth. Her telling him, she can definitely work with that. Her turning and beginning to walk away. Now, Deku, he does gotta watch that. Currently, him gonna make his way into the school and begin to start showering as well. He needs to clean up. He needs to get some rest. Today was certainly fun. Fajin is still having its own little tangents. Of all the abilities he does have, that one, it just feels like another one for all. Not bad though. Different? Using the two in tandem though is certainly efficient. Okay. But this last quirk, of all the quirks he does have, he thinks he's finally getting it? Understanding it. It's a bit odd. Little Deku's mind. Him going to look as the blood does begin to pour down the drain. And he does have a few things going through his mind. Before there is where he's to get a flash in his mind. Him seeing his room. Himself sitting down and reading that letter from Sir Night-Eye. The door opening. And someone standing there. Someone who wants to have a chat. Talk with him and see more about a few things. He's already got to infect those two. Enosa and Shindo. He'll do that and then he can talk more with that beast guy tomorrow at the warehouse. Okay. It does mean a lot. Though he does wonder about... No. Todoroki is going to be here tomorrow. He can't think about Setsuna. She's gone. She's not coming back. He can't think about Hashi. His little boy with his chubby little cheeks. He definitely got his eyes. Definitely got his little green eyes. That on his mind. And Deku does somewhat lower his head. him rinsing his hair out before he's to turn off the water, going to leave, and leaving that thought exactly where it was, in a better space. There's no more room for it. Not anymore. He has to be what he is. He has to leave it behind. If she does come back, then that means something's already changed. It's gotten worse, not better. He doesn't think anything gets better anymore. And that it does currently pass. Izuku calming himself down and sitting there, thinking about a lot at the edge of his own bed, wondering about a few things. He's got to deal with it. He's got to get over it at some point. Just focus. Just focus on the task at hand. Then move on. All this anger, all this bullshit, All for One is going to feel it. He's going to lay wrath down on that man. And he won't survive. He has to be this way. Then on his mind, him opening up Tsunada's note and beginning to read, staring at the words as he is going to see the information. It expressing a few things. What Izuku did is very problematic. Right now, he's writing this letter to him and addressing multiple things he has seen. Some of his actions have not been good. They have been questionable. And he will tell him this. Whenever he saw a timeline disappear, he had great worry. He thought it might be accompanied by several more. And that was also concerning. After those events passed, he calmed down. And now he's seeing that Deku is going after Pros. He's already got All Might on his side. And whenever All Might does come back, he needs to know. All Might is going to try and take a gamble if he comes back. That is going to be for certain. He might leave this to Deku, and he may not. He might need to go to the bunker and retrieve his former mentor. Or, if he'd like to, he can go after another pro. Pick his better option and pick his battle. One could be better than the other. But does he really want to test that? Deku looking down. Before it does begin to express, he's seen his ability change. He's seen it advance, adapt to his new body. It's quite impressive. He would not have expected Deku to be somebody All Might would have picked. Mirio, his former prodigy, was someone he would have chosen in a heartbeat. Though right now, they don't need a symbol of hope. They need somebody who is willing to destroy. And that ability he does have in his hands, he needs to be careful with. There's no telling what will happen if All for One discovers he has it. And Deku, he does look at the bottom. Currently, an arrow pointed at the corner. Deku flipping the page over and seeing as it does say a word on the back. Burn. And Izuku, he does go to close his eyes. And the page does get a light up in flames. Deku watching as the page does go to turn to ash. It's gonna scatter in Deku's hand before he does gonna lay back, thinking about a lot. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be something. Okay. Go after All Might or go after another pro? He should check up on All Might. see what's happening, but maybe he shouldn't. Deku turning, and there is that knock on his door he was waiting for. It going to open. Before Ibara does get a step in, talking about it. She's gotten Mirko set up. She's also been discussing a few things with Kimi and Nejire. They're both quite powerful. They are, aren't they? They are. The humans, they need our help. Do they? They do. Her watching Nick is phrasing. And Izuku, he does sit there, telling her, the humans are supposed to be on their own. He provides the land, they take care of it. That's how it's going to work. Yes, but they have more information. What do they have? A few things. Stories you might like to hear. People you might want to look into. Someone killed a smart zombie, but that was more recent. They don't know who it was. The face was too damaged from buckshot. Lovely. Any others we might be looking for? The Shadow Walker. It's definitely one. I'm not sure. Currently, Toga going to walk directly behind Ibara, talking about how she was hoping to talk with him. Something important? A little bit. We're in the middle of a bit of a meeting, Toga. Okay, fine. Listen, the humans could prove to be beneficial. For information. Afterwards, keep your word. I know I'll create some of my own sentries to keep an eye on things. Though that doesn't mean I can't be a bit of a help. If they tell me what I want, I'll give them something that they might need. It's that easy. Her holding up her hand, and currently holding a handful of seeds, talking about it. She can do what she'll need to. Does she have his, well, approval on this? Do what you will. We need them in our good graces. I already do know that Shinso's getting more information from them. Though, I did want him to brainwash them. See if they're lying about anything else. We'll do that later. If someone becomes a problem, then we'll do that. Then we can feed. Are you waiting for that one, man? That one? Perhaps. I'm quite optimistic about his odds. To be the example. I did already make things quite apparent. Whoever steps out of line first, I'm feeding his heart to. So either way, it will definitely be quite something. Fine. Though remember our bargain. I won't forget. Now, if that was all, you can leave. Her turning and going to step out. Currently, Toga gonna watch Ibara walk down the hall. Her holding her hands up and beginning to do a few things. Her hair currently sprouting into different flowers. And Ibara just gonna somewhat hum a little. Before Toga does a turn back and step into the room. Her going to close the door and talk about it. Okay, she's still trying to get a bit of a hang on this ability. Though, these are strange improvements. Her stepping forwards, before she does a turn directly in to Mina. And Mina just don't stand there. Her spinning around and turning, talking about it. It definitely does feel weird. You know, she's not used to her power working like this without blood. I mean, think of the person and she turns right into them. Good. We'll need that. Are you sure? I mean, what use could I be? You do a few things. Have you thought of other ideas? Hmm. Currently, her turning in to Setsuna. For Deku to turn his head, and she does go to turn into Nejire. Deku looking back and seeing the short blue hair. Before she's a turn, bring her hands up and going to think. Turning back to normal as Toga, she does begin to have something sprout from her back. Wings that do look a bit more like that of a dragonfly. And Izuku does stare at this. Before she does go to flutter them a little bit and then going to retract them. Her holding her hands up, thinking. Her looking them intently before the claws do begin to morph. And she does go to hold them up, talking about it. Look at this. She's getting a bit better at this. It feels natural. It does. Thank you for this. You're helping me. I know. Though, well, it's just. Come here. Her looking at Deku, stepping forwards as he's going to hold his hand out. Currently, her putting her hand with the claws still on it onto his palm. And Izuku does tell her, bring up his other hand. She's not the only one discovering new abilities. They all are. This is the start of something new. They'll take him out, and then she can learn more about what her powers can do. If she can transform into anyone or anything, she has to remember the possibilities are endless. She can become a great creature. Here she fits in. He's sorry for what she's told him already, but her power is certainly a very interesting one he'd like to experiment with. Really? Yes. I want to learn a little bit more about it, Toga. Do you think that you can do that for me? I know her falling onto one knee, looking up at Izuku, and Deku does bring his hand up. Before he does, gonna grab her by her chin and tell her. Right now, he has a special task for her. What is it? What you're going to do is simple. You're going to start a little bit of a search. I want you to bring in some prey. Really? Yes. I want you to gather information. In fact, it should be quite easy. Your mission starts tomorrow morning. I'm going to invite some people back to the manor, and I want the humans to feel safe. Right now, Ibarra is going to help them. They're going to give us more information. You are going to replace someone in their group. And I want you, in all that chaos, to work your magic. Can you understand that? Be a total stranger they find. Be someone you know they haven't seen. Find a survivor out there and replace them. Then run to their settlement, and I want you to beg me with all of your little heart to take you in and save you. Give you a place to feel safe. Can you do that for me? I can. I will. Good. Good. Deku going to lean down. Before he does, he'll put his forehead to hers and tell her. He's got a big plan in play. Right now, he needs more people on his side. Before he even thinks about trying. He's got this funny feeling. If people don't comply, though, that will be another thing he'll have to look into. Currently, him going to lean back up and pull Toga to her feet. And she does begin to somewhat smile. And with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed. And have an amazing day. I will catch you guys in the next part.